Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking into a fascinating account of an alleged alien contactee and his experiences with a mysterious book of life. Our source material for this deep dive is an audio recording of a lecture, and
Hmm.
it delves into some pretty thought-provoking topics from ancient mysteries and paranormal events to the very nature of time and perception.
What I find really compelling about this particular account is how it weaves together these seemingly disparate elements. We
Mm.
have ancient myths, spiritual traditions, claims of extraterrestrial contact, and experiences that really challenge our understanding of reality itself.
Yeah, it raises some pretty fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge belief and what we even perceive as real. Right off the bat, the speaker recounts this incredibly vivid dream he had when he was just 17.
Oh, wow.
He describes finding himself in this vast desert, coming across this majestic tree and a wise elder, and encountering a living book that supposedly contained the entire past and future of humanity.
The living.
Yeah, and he doesn't just give us some like dry account either. He goes into detail about the textures, the colors, the feeling of the book pulsing with energy.
The sensory detail is really remarkable. What's really interesting to me is the symbolism. We see similar concepts echoed throughout history and across various cultures. Think of the Tree of Life in different mythologies, or the Akashic Records, even the biblical references to a book of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you wonder if these ideas tap into a collective unconscious, a shared human yearning to understand the bigger picture, maybe even access some hidden knowledge of existence.
It's like this idea that knowledge isn't something we just passively receive, but something that's alive, vibrant, and interconnected, almost like tapping into a universal database of wisdom. Now, the speaker then goes on to describe joining this contact group called the Rama Group. They practice automatic writing, believing they're receiving messages from extraterrestrial beings.
And this is where things start to get really interesting. Not only does he receive his cosmic name, which he describes as this personal vibration unique to him, but he also experiences something called Kiam crystals manifesting in his hands. He says these crystals are then absorbed into his heart chakra.
Now, I have to admit, when I first heard about these Siam crystals, I was pretty skeptical, but the speaker describes them in such detail, talking about their shape, their energy, the feeling of them dissolving into his chest. It's hard to just dismiss it as mere imagination.
Exactly. And we can't overlook the fact that he connects these experiences to biblical passages, particularly from the book of Revelation.
Oh, okay.
He points out how these cosmic names often end in L, similar to names in the Old Testament, even some angelic names.
So, is it possible that what were once interpreted as angelic visitations could be seen through a different lens today? Maybe even as encounters with beings from other worlds?
It certainly challenges us to consider how our interpretations of events are shaped by the cultural and scientific framework of our time. But moving on, the speaker then recounts his first face-to-face encounter with one of these beings. He had been attempting automatic writing himself when this being suddenly appeared before him, calling him little brother through telepathy.
This whole concept of telepathic communication really grabbed my attention. It's like bypassing language altogether and connecting on a deeper level of consciousness.
It suggests a form of communication that transcends our limited understanding of physics and the senses. But what I find most remarkable about this encounter is the emotional impact it had on the speaker. He talks about the initial shock, the being's appearance, and this overwhelming feeling of love and connection that he experienced through the telepathic exchange. It's clear this was a pivotal moment in his journey, one that left a lasting impression on his worldview.
Absolutely. Now, following this encounter, the Rama group received guidance again through automatic writing to travel to various locations in Peru, a place steeped in ancient mysteries and unexplained phenomena, which already seems like a pretty big coincidence. But then during one of his meditations, the speaker receives a symbol that represents what he calls the man of four dimensions of consciousness.
This symbol is a triangle within a circle, and it's strikingly similar to ancient symbols like the Ankh, which represents life and the interconnectedness of all things. But what's even more intriguing is that he claims others around the world also involved in contact experiences have received the same symbol. It points to a possible connection within the collective unconscious, a shared awareness that transcends geographical and cultural boundaries.
It really makes you think about the power of symbols and their ability to tap into something much deeper within us. But this idea of the fourth dimension is something I need a little help with. Can you unpack that a bit more for us?
Of course, when we talk about the fourth dimension, we're often referring to time Einstein's theory of relativity. For example, describes time as intertwined with space, forming a four-dimensional fabric of the universe. What's fascinating here is that the speaker seems to be suggesting we can develop a four-dimensional consciousness, a way of perceiving reality that goes beyond our linear understanding of time.
That's kind of mind-blowing. So it's not just about understanding time as a concept, but actually experiencing it in a completely different way. Almost like seeing the past, present, and future as interconnected.
Exactly. It challenges us to rethink our perception of reality and the limitations we impose on ourselves. But as the speaker goes on to explain, this journey of expanding consciousness isn't always easy. It can be fraught with challenges, fears, and even missed opportunities.
Like that time he wished for a physical encounter inside a spaceship, but then backed out when the opportunity actually arose. It's like even with all this yearning for contact, he was still grappling with that very human instinct of fear.
It's a great example of how our emotional responses can sometimes hold us back from embracing the unknown, even when it's something we deeply desire. But this brings us to another intriguing aspect of his story, the possibility that he was taken aboard a ship while unconscious, losing track of time completely.
And he actually tried to recall this lost time through self hypnosis, which I thought was pretty interesting. It suggests that our memories and perceptions, especially in the realm of the paranormal, can be fluid and elusive.
It raises the question of how much control we actually have over our experiences and how much is filtered through our limited perception. This theme of shifting reality is something that will become even more prominent as we delve deeper into his story.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part one of this deep dive. Buckle up, because there's a lot more to uncover as we explore the speaker's evolving understanding of consciousness, reality, and the search for truth.
Welcome back. I'm eager to kind of pick up where we left off and delve a bit further into some of the more perplexing elements of the speaker's narrative. Specifically, I think it's time we unpack this whole concept of the Book of Life. You'll recall that he mentions encountering it multiple times throughout his journey, almost like a recurring dream or a symbol that keeps drawing him deeper.
Yeah, it's like this mysterious book keeps popping up as a central theme, almost acting as a thread connecting different parts of his experience. You almost have to wonder if it's meant to represent something more than just a physical book. Could it be a symbol for knowledge itself, or maybe a gateway to a higher understanding of reality?
That's precisely the question that we need to grapple with. And what makes it even more intriguing is the way he describes this book. It's not just a collection of words on a page,
Yeah.
but something that's alive, pulsating with energy and information. He even describes feeling this energy physically when he encounters it in his dream.
It felt like it was trying to communicate with him directly. It's a very compelling image, and one that has resonated with people throughout history, this idea of a loving book containing the past and future of humanity. I mean, it isn't unique to this one man's experience. We see echoes of it in various cultures and spiritual traditions, like the concept of the Akashic Records, which proposes a universal record of all events, thoughts, and emotions that have ever occurred.
Exactly. The Akashic Records are often described as a kind of cosmic library or database containing all knowledge and experience. And if we entertain the possibility that something like this exists, then perhaps this Book of Life is a way of accessing those records, a method of tapping into this vast reservoir of information.
So instead of knowledge being something we acquire bit by bit, it's more like we're plugging into a universal network and downloading information directly. It's a pretty radical concept, but one that seems to align with the speaker's emphasis on direct experience over blind faith. He's not simply accepting what he's told, but actively seeking knowledge through his own encounters and explorations.
And it's through these explorations that he encounters other texts and teachings that resonate with his experiences, like the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text filled with apocalyptic visions and accounts of angelic beings. It's a book that has fascinated scholars and mystics for centuries, and it seems to have sparked something within the speaker, further fueling his search for answers.
It's almost like each piece of the puzzle he finds leads him to the next, pushing him further down this path of discovery. But what strikes me is that his journey takes him beyond the confines of traditional religion and spirituality. While he draws parallels to biblical stories and mystical concepts, he also expresses uncertainty about the nature of the beings he's encountered, questioning whether they are truly extraterrestrial or something else entirely.
This willingness to question assumptions, even his own, is what makes his narrative so compelling. He's not presenting a rigid dogma or a set of beliefs to be blindly followed. Instead, he's sharing his own evolving understanding, his struggles with doubt and uncertainty, and his commitment to seeking truth wherever it may lead.
And that search often leads him into some pretty uncomfortable territory, like his premonition of the plane crash. He describes feeling this intense energy in his chest, leading to a vivid vision of the crash itself. And despite his attempts to prevent it through prayer and positive energy, the tragedy still unfolds. It's a truly heartbreaking moment in his story, and one that raises some really difficult questions.
This experience highlights the complex interplay between free will and destiny. If we were given glimpses of the future, does that mean it's predetermined? Or do we still have the power to influence the course of events? These are questions that philosophers and theologians have grappled with for centuries, and the speaker's experience offers no easy answers.
It's almost like he's been given this knowledge, but not the power to change the outcome, which makes you wonder what's the purpose of such a premonition? What are we supposed to learn from these glimpses into the future?
Perhaps it's not about preventing tragedy, but about understanding our role in a larger cosmic tapestry. It could be about learning acceptance, compassion, and the ability to find meaning, even in the face of suffering.
That's a really profound thought, and it's interesting how this premonition becomes a catalyst for a deeper understanding of death and the afterlife. He describes being drawn back to the crash site in a vision where he encounters a woman in white who tells him they are there to help the souls transition from the trauma of their passing.
This part of his story really stood out to me. The idea that souls might be trapped, reliving their final moments and needing assistance to move on is a really powerful image. It challenges the conventional notion of death as an ending and suggests that it's more of a transition to a different state of being.
It's almost like he's given a glimpse behind the curtain, revealing a hidden dimension of existence that we usually don't have access to. And the way he describes the process of helping these souls transition, guiding them towards a sense of peace and understanding, is both fascinating and deeply moving.
It also aligns with the speaker's earlier statement that dying is an illusion, a concept that he claims the woman in white reiterated to him during this experience. It's a bold statement, and one that raises profound questions about the nature of reality itself. If our perception of death is an illusion, then what else might we be misinterpreting? What are the limits of our understanding of time and space?
It's like our whole framework of reality is being challenged, and this woman in white becomes his guide through this unfamiliar territory, offering insights that push him further down this path of questioning and exploration.
She tells him, "You don't need a body to be alive," a statement that echoes various mystical and spiritual traditions that view the soul or spirit as an eternal entity that transcends physical death. It suggests that consciousness exists independently of the physical form, a concept that has profound implications for our understanding of life, death, and the nature of reality itself.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, and it seems like even the speaker is struggling to integrate these experiences into his understanding of the world, but there's a clear sense that he's evolving, moving towards a deeper level of awareness and a more expansive view of reality.
You're absolutely right, and this evolution is central to his journey. He's not simply accumulating knowledge, but actively transforming his understanding of himself and the universe around him.
And that transformation seems to be leading him towards a greater sense of purpose. He's realizing that he may not have all the answers, but he can still play a role in helping others navigate their own journeys of discovery.
He's moving from a place of seeking knowledge for his own personal gain to a desire to use his experiences to guide and support others. It's a subtle shift, but a significant one in terms of his personal growth and his expanding sense of responsibility.
This idea of service seems to be emerging as a key theme, and I'm curious to see how it plays out in the final part of his narrative. But before we get there, I think it's worth pausing for a moment and really letting these ideas sink in.
I agree. The speaker's experiences challenge us to confront the limitations of our own perception and to consider the possibility that reality is far more complex and multifaceted than we might initially assume. It's a call to question everything, to be open to the unknown, and to embark on our own journeys of exploration and discovery.
As we enter this final chapter of the speaker's incredible journey, I'm really struck by how much emphasis he places on the importance of questioning everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about blindly accepting what we're told, but actively engaging with information, challenging our assumptions, and ultimately seeking truth through our own direct experiences.
Absolutely. It's a powerful message, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with information from all sides. It's so easy to get caught up in these echo chambers of our own beliefs and to just dismiss anything that challenges our preconceived notions. The speaker is urging us to break free from that trap and to cultivate a more discerning and critical approach to the world around us.
He really drives this point home with that anecdote about the light in the sky. Remember how he described multiple people witnessing the same light, but each person perceiving it differently based on their own beliefs and expectations?
Oh, yeah.
Some saw it as white, others saw it as blue or red. It's like our individual filters are literally shaping what we see, creating slightly different versions of reality.
It's a brilliant illustration of how subjective our perception can be and how much our beliefs can influence our experiences. It reminds me of the placebo effect, where people experience real physiological changes simply because they believe they are receiving a treatment. It really highlights the power of the mind to shape our reality.
It's both fascinating and a little unsettling to think about how much of what we perceive as objective reality might actually be a projection of our own minds. Does this mean that there's no such thing as truth? Or is it more about recognizing that truth is multifaceted and our understanding of it is constantly evolving?
I think it's more about embracing the complexity of reality and acknowledging the limitations of our own perception. It's about recognizing that there are multiple perspectives and that our own individual viewpoint is only one piece of the puzzle. The speaker isn't suggesting that we abandon the search for truth, but rather that we approach it with humility, curiosity, and an open mind.
And speaking of evolving perspectives, let's circle back to the speaker's own changing views on the beings he encountered. Remember, he initially believed they were extraterrestrial, but as his journey progressed, he began to question that assumption.
This willingness to acknowledge uncertainty and to let go of rigid labels is a sign of true intellectual and spiritual maturity. It's not about clinging to fixed beliefs, but being open to the possibility that there's more to the universe. Though we currently understand the speaker's journey is a testament to the importance of staying curious, questioning our assumptions, and being willing to adjust our perspectives as we learn and grow.
It's a reminder that the search for truth is an ongoing process, not a destination. And it's a journey we each have to undertake for ourselves. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to address before we wrap up this deep dive: the recurring theme of the Book of Life.
Yeah.
It seems like it was trying to tell him something throughout his experiences.
It certainly appears to be a central symbol, and I think it points to a level of knowledge and understanding that goes beyond our ordinary, everyday awareness. It's not just about accumulating facts and information, but tapping into a deeper source of wisdom and insight.
It's like the Book of Life represents the totality of knowledge, the interconnectedness of all things, the very fabric of existence itself. It's not something we can simply read, but something we have to experience and embody.
And perhaps the speaker's journey, with all its twists and turns, is a reflection of this process of unfolding, of discovering the Book of Life within ourselves. It's a journey of self-discovery, of expanding consciousness, and of connecting to something larger than ourselves.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I think the question we're left with is, what does this all mean for us? How can we apply the speaker's insights to our own lives and embark on our own journeys of discovery?
I think the key takeaway here is this: don't be afraid to question everything. Be open to new experiences. Trust your intuition and never stop seeking truth, even if it leads you down unexpected paths. The speaker's story is a reminder that the universe is full of mystery and wonder, and that the greatest discoveries are often found within ourselves.
So as you navigate the complexities of life, remember the speaker's message: be curious, be courageous, and never stop exploring. The Book of Life is out there waiting to be discovered.